Okay, let's unpack this. We live in this, well, relentless attention economy, right?
Everything gets documented.
Yeah, exactly. Career stuff, holidays, even just like a good coffee. It feels kind of incomplete until it's out there, filtered, presented for everyone. We're just constantly rewarded for performance.
Performance is the key word there.
But then there are these people, we all know someone like this, who are almost like digital ghosts. They've got the apps, maybe they scroll a bit, but they just never post pictures of themselves. No selfies, no life updates, none of those, highlight reels. They exist online, but they choose.
Well, silence, basically.
And that silence, that's exactly what we're decoding today.
Yeah.
This isn't random. It's not just about being shy or not liking tech.
Right.
Our deep dive into the material on the psychology of social media silence shows just choice silence over performance. It tells us a lot. It gives real insights into confidence, mindset, emotional intelligence even. So our mission here is to get past those surface assumptions, like they're just private. We're going into the core psychological reasons behind
I
it.
choose control over clicks, privacy over popularity.
Exactly.
And we're looking beyond that idea that they must be antisocial or, boring. The research actually suggests the opposite. It's often a strategic thing, self-preservation almost, signals a really developed internal framework.
Okay, so where do we start? The sources seem to kick off with control.
Yeah, that's the cornerstone, a strong privacy orientation. These individuals really value keeping a, let's say, tight lid on what the world sees and thinks. Their life is theirs, not content for clicks.
Right, property, not performance.
Precisely. And it's crucial, like you touched on, to separate this from being antisocial. They're often very engaged socially, but in the real world, online, they're protecting their mental space, their own story.
The effort, maybe.
Yeah.
Managing a whole public persona.
Yeah.
Filtering captions, worrying about reactions.
Exactly. That's emotional labor. And they choose to put that energy somewhere else. For them, controlling their own narrative, that's the real status.
That makes a lot of sense. While, most people are maybe chasing that external validation, the likes, the comments, that little dopamine hit, the non-posters relying pretty much solely on self-validation.
And that reliance, that's a huge indicator of inner security. They don't need 100 strangers or 1,000 to tell them their meal was good or their trip was fun or they look nice.
The value is just there.
Right.
In the moment itself.
Yes, they define their own success, and it's got nothing to do with digital metrics.
Okay, so this inner stability seems to flow naturally into the second big theme, which is strong self-awareness.
Right. We're talking about something called self-concept clarity. The sources suggest people who share less tend to have this really clear, firm, stable sense of who they actually are.
What does that mean practically, though? Like more than just knowing their favorite food?
Oh, way beyond that. It means their identity is pretty consistent. They're the same person at work, with friends. When they're alone, they know their core values, their long-term goals, what really drives them.
So they're not sort of crowdsourcing their identity online, hoping the internet will tell them who to be.
Exactly. Think of it like an internal compass. It doesn't spin wildly just because the external weather changes, the online trends.
And if that compass is steady, they're naturally less likely to get swept up in things, chasing trends, trying on different personalities because they're popular.
Precisely. That internal focus just anchors them. Their self-concept is robust enough that the comparison cycle, which honestly messes with so many people online, it becomes kind of irrelevant to their emotional state. Their happiness is generated from within, not dependent on external applause.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, connecting that strong sense of self with genuine emotional resilience.
Right.
The research links this low posting habit to secure self-esteem.
This might be the most significant finding, actually. We often confuse fragile self-esteem, the loud, showy kind that always needs attention.
Right, the performative kind.
Yes. We mistake that for real confidence. But secure self-esteem, that's foundational. It doesn't need constant outside validation or attention just to survive, let alone thrive.
So, thinking about it, someone posting tons of heavily filtered selfies, maybe that's not pure confidence. Could it be more about needing that constant external, yep, you're okay?
That's often the case, yes. When someone genuinely feels complete inside, there's just less need to broadcast every win or filter every image to prove their worth. The proof is internal, like we said.
Their worth isn't up for debate in the comments section.
Exactly. They're not performing for the world. They're just living for themselves. And the sources point out that people with this kind of emotional balance tend to be less anxious, less driven by approval seeking. And as a result, they're often more focused on tangible, real-world goals, not just digital achievements.
That focus means they can use their energy more effectively, I guess.
It does, and this brings up a really good reflection point for, you listening right now. If you look at your own recent posts, what's the habit saying about your inner confidence? Is it genuine sharing, or is there maybe a bit of needing that public nod to feel good about the moment?
Yeah, it really makes you pause and think about the why behind the share.
Yeah.
That internal focus also seems to line up with their thinking style. Let's shift to how these non-posters are often described as like deep thinkers, not just show-offs.
Well, their behavior suggests they prioritize substance over noise, right? They're not just adding to the constant digital chatter because they can. They're selective.
And this selectivity, the sources say, is tied to a key psychological idea, the internal locus of evaluation. That sounds important.
It's incredibly powerful. The locus of evaluation is basically about where you get your standards from, your benchmarks for success, for judgment. If it's internal, your personal barometer for success or failure is self-generated. You judge yourself by your own goals, your own standards, not follower counts, not trends, definitely not the shifting sands of online approval.
So their self-worth isn't fluctuating based on comments or likes. They're measuring themselves against their own internal targets, which might be quite high.
Exactly right. Contrast that with an external locus, where success means getting applause or hitting external metrics, the internal evaluator. They might not care if 1 million people like their post. They care if they met their personal standard for that project, that day, that interaction.
That preference for depth makes sense then. Why they'd lean towards real conversations over just superficial online stuff.
It aligns perfectly. Deep thinkers, not just performers.
And finally, there's the practical side, which is also quite self-aware.
Yeah.
They get how social media can twist reality. They understand the digital illusion.
Yes, they recognize the psychological pitfalls baked into these platforms. They're actively opting out of something specific, social comparison theory, especially that upward comparison trap.
Can you break down that mechanism for us, upward comparison?
Sure. It's when we take our whole real messy life, the boring bits, the failures, the struggles, all of it, and we measure it against someone else's carefully crafted, often filtered, one-dimensional highlight reel.
Ugh, yeah.
It's an emotionally draining game, almost designed to make us feel like we're not enough.
And comparison, as they say, is the thief of joy. It fuels so much digital unhappiness. So by staying low-key, not playing that performance game, they're basically building a psychological shield, protecting their mental health.
It's absolutely a protective measure, a deliberate, quite sophisticated choice, really. They are actively choosing peace over performance, not because they have nothing good going on, but because they understand the cost of constantly broadcasting it.
They see that stepping back from that pressure is actually a powerful form of self-care in today's world.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, the privacy focus, the secure self-esteem, that internal evaluation, understanding the digital trap. What's the big picture?
The big picture is we need to update our assumptions. Stop thinking shy or antisocial when someone doesn't post photos. Start thinking maybe they're deeply grounded, emotionally intelligent, self-aware. Maybe they've consciously chosen to invest their energy and confidence internally instead of seeking it externally. Their silence isn't empty, it's actually a sign of psychological stability.
Wow. That's the core message from the sources, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's powerful. They don't need to be seen to feel seen, and that is real confidence today.
Absolutely. So we invite you, listening, to reflect on this. Think about that balance in your own life. Are you mostly operating from that internal security, or are you maybe still leaning on external metrics more than you realize?
Food for thought.
Definitely. And hit subscribe so we can keep digging into these kinds of psychological breakdowns together, decoding minds, not just scrolling through lives.